After all of these adventures I've had in this trip in Eastern Canada, it is finally the last stop. I have seen Iguazu Falls in South America, Victoria Falls in Africa. The holy trifecta of waterfalls ends here in Niagara Falls. As the neon lights passed my windows, I had no idea this modern tourism gold rush town actually has a different side. And let's get into it in Niagara Falls. And let's not beat around the bush anymore. I picked a nice location to put my bed, as I definitely overpaid for a gorgeous falls view suite in the hotel that I was staying. But it became very apparent that it was all worth it because the nightly light show from my bathtub was worth more than $1 million to me. But for a proper view of the waterfalls, we have to move all the way over to 10 feet away onto my bed, where I got to see one of the most gorgeous sunrises a human can ever behold. And you're lucky that I remembered to press the record button, because I barely remember to eat my breakfast I was holding in my hands, because it is just this gorgeous, and I cannot imagine waking up in any better way. After finishing the breakfast, it is time to get down and up close and personal with the waterfalls. And don't forget, there's a big promenade all along the river that you can walk around and admire all of the best views the United States on the other side has to offer. And the name of this region, Niagara, probably comes from an Iroquois town nearby called Onguiara, which means a point of land cut in two. And the water is so powerful that during a normal year, the waterfall would have eroded backwards for nearly 3 feet, which is about 1 meter. However, a lot of the preservations were taken, such as completely stopping the waterfalls that you see on the American side in the 1960s, and reinforcing the base so that it can resist the erosion just a little bit longer. Because even after all of these efforts, the water still erodes more than 1 feet or about 30 centimeters of bedrock underneath and pushing back the waterfall at an almost visible rate. And in 50,000 years, it would have eroded all the way back to Lake Erie, and Niagara Falls would be no more. And as I slowly approached the roaring waterfalls, I got dangerously close, so close that I was barely 3 meters away from where it all dropped off. And unsurprisingly, the sound was so loud that I could not hear anything other than the roaring sounds of the water crashing and clashing over 50 meters down beneath me. No wonder when the famous Austrian composer Gustav Mahler came to visit the falls, the only thing he could shout when he was at the falls was, "At last, fortissimo!" And look at this gorgeous view. How can you beat that, right? However, it is very important to note that just a block from all of the glitz and glamour is a side of Niagara Falls that is a little bit hard to swallow. Huge swaths of abandoned parking lots and motels took over blocks upon blocks of valuable land, surrounding theaters and cinemas that have long been abandoned. Old abandoned buildings were covered with graffitis and sometimes become centers of delinquent teenagers hanging out at night. And this shows the extensive damage the pandemic has done to the city, as well as the innate incapability of the government trying to solve the crisis that has long taken place since the 2008 financial crash. But maybe this is just the fault of real estate developers and casinos overextending and overwhelming their own budgets, as the town of Niagara Falls have always been very unhealthily reliant on American tourist traffic, and historically, trying to rely on it has always been a fickle subject matter. So how about we take a drive all the way downstream to Lake Ontario, where Fort Mississagua protects the little quaint village of Niagara-on-the-lake.
The fort was selected in the 17th century by the French because this is a very strategic place. The Niagara River flows right down here and meets Lake Ontario right here. And down here, you need to build a fort that's enough to command the entire position so all of the transports can safely go through. And later, it was surrendered to the British after a long siege. And later, during the War of 1812, this place served as a very, very important position as a fight against the Americans. But unfortunately, because the Americans were smart and decided to attack in the 2 Mile Beach a little bit over there. And this fort that you are seeing right here is a result of a 19th century British design, because the original French one was unfortunately destroyed. And this was supposed to be much bigger because after the treaty was signed with the Americans, they have a much bigger fort on the other side. You can see there, this is technically New York State. So the British was a little bit paranoid, and they originally proposed to build like a gigantic 1,000 man fort right here, but it never came to be.
But how can I possibly end this trip without visiting the quaint village of Niagara-on-the-lake? Because according to Nicole Anderson, she once said that I have gone to Niagara-on-the-lake, you know? Niagara Falls in Canada. It is the cute little quaint town, and it is just warm and everyone is so nice. And guess what? She is 100% right. This charming village was stuck in the 1800s in the best way possible, without any ugly strip mall and corporate Starbucks. But they do put a lot of emphasis on their homemade chocolate cake and maintaining their Victorian facades. On my drive back to Toronto Airport, I found myself to be so lucky. I got to witness the beautiful foliage scenery in Algonquin Park and our nation's beautiful capital, as well as the beautiful Mount Tremblant. Wait, I really need to work on my vocabulary. Let me dig out my old SAT word book. Okay, I got it. And in this episode, you got to witness the pulchritudinous waterfall with me. And I want to thank you so much for accompanying me on this epic journey. And I sincerely hope that you liked every single video of this great series. And if you did so, please don't forget to click the like button down there and subscribe if you want to hear me out on the next epic journey. Let me just spoil you a little bit. It is 20 times longer, further, and more beautiful than this very trip. So don't miss out, and I'll see you in the next journey.